Estimating manufacturing costs. So this is one of those tricky things where it can be quite difficult at the start of a project to know how much it's actually going to cost by the end. That's why we have a whole node for going through your budget. So check that out in the design core. I think it's node 3. Node 3? Let me check. It's node 4. Anyway, so when you're putting a budget together, what I would highly recommend is going, when you are estimating manufacturing costs. A rule of thumb, all right, when we're talking about runs of about 1,000, is that, or between 500 and 1,000, is that each deck is going to cost you about $4 US. So in your game, like just very, very rule of thumb. The box is probably going to cost you about $4. A rulebook might be around $4, and the dice and components might be around $4 US. So you can see a bit of a pattern here. So some things will be a little bit more, some things will be a little bit less, but it is totally reasonable to think that a game with a board, a bunch of card decks, a nice big box, a bunch of materials and stuff will be about $12 per unit for 1,000 to manufacture. Of course, you could find it a lot cheaper if you really, really, really hunt around, but if you're wanting to have that sort of reliability and dependability, that's what I would budget, and that includes shipping, okay? So that's important, is that everything that you add to a game is going to add weight, and that is going to affect, obviously, the shipping price to get it wherever it needs to go. There is a whole node on shipping and like where to get stuff, and the last 3 nodes of the manufacturing core are actually about include a discussion of what to do with 100, 1,000, or 10,000 copies, depending on how much money you have to use to do the manufacturing. So yes, so I would add about $4 for every component in terms of the total cost, including getting it to where it needs to go. Another thing that I would say is that little extras are not actually that expensive. So there's a thing in the board game community which is called a linen finish, and it is the sign of like premium deluxe board games. So big companies like Stigmire and a lot of games that come out through Asmodee or Common all have this linen finish on the box, and it's associated with quality and things like that. It's not actually that much more expensive to include, so it might be like a few cents per thing. So I can heartily recommend at least getting the quote for that. I am going to talk about quoting in a future node, but in terms of just your estimations, that's what I would recommend. So when you get up to something like 10,000 copies, it'll be like $1 or something per thing, but you just have to remember that your base price is going to be higher, and shipping that much stuff is going to actually increase it quite significantly. So it's not going to end up, and they wouldn't let it end up being cheaper overall to order the 10,000 copies over 1,000 copies. So those are my suggestions. Multiply all the different individual components of your game by 4, and in US dollars. And decks, I'm talking about 54 cards, okay? I'm not talking about like individual cards. And that also doesn't take into account artwork or design time or things like that. But yeah, in the principal materials for this node, we have a little kind of breakdown of the, it sort of allows you to like note and list all of the things that you might include in your game, and all of those things are sort of on average $4. But yeah, it'll just give you a very rough estimate of what the costs might be. And we'll talk in the next node or a future node about how to actually get a very accurate quote. So once again, good luck.